Muy buenas tardes a todos, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo les va? ¿Cómo andan? Bueno, ahí de a poquito se está uniendo la gente. Dimos ahí unos minutitos para que todos pudieran ingresar a la sala de espera y poder aceptar a la mayoría al mismo tiempo. Y en lo que se va uniendo el resto, les voy a comentar un poco lo que va a ser la dinámica de esta presentación, que es un poco lo que ya viene estando acostumbrados de las otras presentaciones que estuvimos teniendo. Vamos a tener una parte, que va a ser la mayor parte, que obviamente va a ser en inglés, como venimos teniendo hasta el momento, que obviamente no se preocupen porque como ya hemos dicho, estamos haciendo toda la generación de contenido en español al respecto, así que van a poder acceder a todo este contenido subtitulado, a las presentaciones en español y demás, así que no se preocupen por eso. Recuerden que es importantísimo que se queden hasta el final de cada una de estas clases para poder acceder a la certificación avalada tanto por NW como por Tether. Y va a haber una parte final de uno de los presentadores, que es el caso de Efraín, que va a ser en español. Así que bueno, esa va a ser un poquito la dinámica, ¿bien? Para que lo vayan teniendo en cuenta. En este caso, como les comento, tengo el placer de tener acá a Efraín y a Ricardo, que van a ser nuestros presentadores el día de hoy. Así que, sin mucho más que aclarar, espero que disfruten mucho de esto, porque como ya les hemos comentado, son oportunidades únicas que nos alegra mucho poder traerles y que puedan aprovechar. Así que bueno, cuando ustedes deseen, podemos comenzar.
Dale, gracias Tomás. Bueno, buenas tardes, gracias por estar. Somos casi 80 y largos, casi 90. Eh, Esta vuelta, digo, más allá de la primera charla fue una introducción a Bitcoin y blockchain por Giacomo. Esta vuelta nosotros entendemos que gran parte de toda esta revolución, en última instancia, de los criptoactivos, hay mucho de inseguridad en muchos casos y mal manejo de la seguridad. Entonces, lo invitamos a Ricardo acá, que es nuestro especialista en ciberseguridad de Tether, para que nos dé una charla que espero les pueda servir a ustedes, más si se van a meter en todo este tema de criptoactivos y activos descentralizados, como para tener un poco más de herramientas a la hora de decidir, evaluar y evaluar inversiones y cómo manejarlas. Bueno, Ricardo, all yours.
Muchas gracias por la introducción. Hola a todos, yo soy Ricardo. Hablo un poquito de español porque lo he estudiado en la primera, so I'm going to change to English. Well, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the introduction. I'm screen sharing the presentation right now. Just want to make sure that you can see it so I can start the lesson. Can you see the slides, right?
Yep, yep.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, perfect. Still, can you see it? Wait.
Mm,
Can you see it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Nice, because I
Yeah.
can't see myself anymore. I'm just presenting it. So, hi everyone. I hope that today's lesson will be good enough. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time. We just have 1 hour, around 1 hour. But the cybersecurity and privacy topics are extremely important in the context of Bitcoin, blockchain, or cryptocurrencies in general. So, I'm gonna do a really short lesson today. But feel free to check the slides after the lesson. You will find a lot of interesting and useful links, tools that you can use to train yourself and to educate yourself in this beautiful world, which is the Bitcoin and blockchain and cryptocurrencies world. So, my name is Ricardo. I'm currently responsible and head of security for Bitfinex and Tether. Here you can find my social media accounts like Twitter, LinkedIn, GitHub, or whatever. Feel free to write me if you have some questions, but let's not lose more time. So, Bitcoin and cybersecurity. Before starting and before talking about cybersecurity itself, I would like to start talking, and I would like to start the lesson by reading the cryptocurrency word, right? So everyone knows what a currency is, right? Money, cash, whatever. But not a lot of people knows what crypto means. So crypto is a branch, is a field of mathematics and information technology, and stands for cryptography. And cryptography is a beautiful and magic word because it's this beautiful branch of mathematics and IT allows us to communicate in a safe way, allows us to surf the internet and the web in a safe way, allows us to pay with our credit card or with our smartphone in a safe way, and also allows us to use Bitcoin in a safe way. So cryptography stands for secret. So basically cryptography is a secret. Is a really long secret that allows us to communicate, to pay, to sign files, to do digital signatures in a safe way, only and only if we keep this secret in a secret place and we keep it safe from other people. Now, as you may know, Bitcoin and most of the cryptocurrencies are based on a public and private key concept. So there are private keys that are allowing us to sign messages or to spend from a specific public key, from a specific, in this case, Bitcoin address. And what is a private key? It's a very, very large number, nothing else. Imagine an extremely, extremely long number, like the biggest number that you can imagine. Well, I'm pretty sure that the private keys behind Bitcoins are much bigger than the number that you can imagine right now. So it's a very, very large number, and it's also a very, very random number. Now imagine that there are 2 times 256 different possibilities for private keys, and there are only 10 times 80 atoms in the known universe. So imagine that the number of possible private keys in Bitcoin are equal to the number of atoms in the known universe. So it's a crazy number. It's so big that we cannot even imagine it, okay? Now, for this reason, Bitcoin is already safe. Bitcoin is secure because your money is secured by the laws of the universe, by the laws of thermodynamics, by the laws of the energy, right? So it's impossible to guess a private number. It's impossible to guess that specific huge and very, very random and very, very big number, because, you know, there are so many possibilities that it will take, I mean, billions of years and billions of supercomputers from Amazon and Google and Microsoft and OpenAI and NVIDIA or whatever. It will take the energy of billions of suns, of billions of universes and galaxies. So it's literally not impossible, but it's extremely, extremely difficult to guess that number. So again, Bitcoin, it's already safe. Cybersecurity, we don't need it, right, in Bitcoin. Well, if you remember, I told you that you need to create and you need to have a random number as well, not only a big number. Now, it must be really, really random. So how do we create randomness? Now, in IT, remember that there's no real randomness, but just pseudo randomness. So yeah, we can simulate randomness in IT. That's why you can surf the internet with HTTPS, and you can, you know, send a naked picture to your wife, or that's why you can log into your bank account without hackers getting your password. But that's also, you know, a problem, because right now it's safe enough. Right now it's secure, but we don't know about the future, right? So we need to create real randomness. So far, it's good, the one that we're creating with IT. Maybe in the future it's not going to be, but it's not going to be a problem for the next hundreds of years. Now, we shouldn't even trust our daily hardware, for example, our notebook. So in order to create a really, really random number, we should at least try to creating it with a specific device, right? So I don't want to create a really random number that will put my Bitcoins in a safe place with the same notebook that I'm using to surf the internet, to download videos, to send, I don't know, like pictures to my girlfriend or whatever. I want to create it with a specific, minimal, and unique device, okay? Because I don't want to trust my daily hardware like my notebook or my phone. I mean, I can trust it, but here we are talking about Bitcoin, right? So if your number is not safe, if your secret is not in a safe place, then it's a problem. There's no one that you can call to get your Bitcoins back. There's no support team that you can call to get help. So it's extremely important to consider cybersecurity as the main topic when you want to work with Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies in general. Now, we shouldn't even trust black boxes, right? Because again, we can use a beautiful device. We can use a unique device that is created just to create this specific number, but it's still a black box. We can't see how it's working, right? We can't see how every microchip in our computer what it's doing, right? So we shouldn't really fully trust it. And at the end, it's better to create our own entropy. We can create randomness. We cannot create with our brains, but we can create it with other ways that I will teach you in today's lesson. Now, let's go back at Bitcoin, because it's the main topic right tonight, Bitcoin and cybersecurity. Bitcoin's motto is be your own bank. It's beautiful, right, to be your own bank. You are free to do what you want. You manage your own money. No one can touch it or steal it from you. You have to keep it in a safe place again. Now, in Bitcoin, we are free. We can use Bitcoin. We can be our own banks, but at the same time, we are the only guarantors of our own security and privacy. Now, what a bank is usually doing is the so-called payment processing cycle, right? So the banks are issuing credit cards. They are taking care of the ledgers. They know how much money Mario has or Ricardo has. They're making sure that every transaction is correct, and they're making sure that no one is trying to cheat, right? So banks are doing a lot of really interesting things in the background. It's easy for us because we don't see it, right? But remember, in Bitcoin, you want to be your own bank. So you have to understand how to be a bank and how banks are working. Now, for most of the boring tech parts, we have Bitcoin nodes, or in general cryptocurrency nodes. So these small computers are basically checking the blockchain, are checking the transactions, are checking the transactions are correct. No one is cheating. So the nodes, okay, in the Bitcoin network or in every other network are making sure that no one is cheating. That if Mario has 1 Bitcoin, then it has 1 Bitcoin. If Ricardo has 0 Bitcoin, then it has 0 Bitcoin. So they are validating the transactions. They are checking. They are following the protocol rules. No one is cheating. They are sending the information. They are receiving the information. But there are other things that a bank is doing, right? One of the things is storing the money, right? Is the most difficult part. Where do we store the money? Now, again, in Bitcoin, we don't have physical vaults, but we have digital vaults based on private keys, right? Now, in the past, in the old school Bitcoin wallet, we had basically almost infinite private keys, and we had to backup each private key. So private key 1 that allows us to spend from public key 1. Private key 2 that allows us to spend from public key 2, etc., etc., etc. Again, remember that these private keys are extremely long numbers, so they are difficult to back up, right? And we have maybe hundreds of them. Yeah, it was good at the beginning. It was good when Bitcoin was created, but thank God we changed it and we improved it. Then there was the so-called BIP32 Bitcoin wallet strategy. So now, instead of having infinite private keys that are allowing us to spend from infinite public keys, so our wallet, now we just need one master key, okay, one master private key that allows us to recover all the child keys. Again, we don't need to store hundreds of them anymore. We just need to store one. And with that specific father or mother, or master key, then we can recover all the other children, sorry. So old school versus BIP32, much easier. Still, humans are bad, in remembering information. So it's really difficult for us to remember a really, really long number, extremely long number, and also to store it in a safe place, right? So we created another strategy. We improved Bitcoin again. Now there's the so-called seed phrase, right? The mnemonic phrase. And with BIP39, Bitcoin wallets, now we have to remember a series of words which is based between 12 and 24 words that are allowing us to recover the master private key that are allowing us to recover all the children keys, right? So again, we have to remember just 12 words, 24 words. So it's easier for humans to remember words instead of really long numbers. So now this is like the state of the art if we talk about Bitcoin wallets and how to create them, how to create randomness, how to store randomness, how to backup randomness, right? So again, can you see the difference, right? So the really long number that you can see on the top of the screen is a private key. 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, blah, blah, blah. It's impossible to remember it. Meanwhile, it's easier for us to remember and to save a series of words: lazy, scale, mix, join, hospital, whatever. So that's what we're doing right now. We are saving, we are creating randomness, and we are saving it in a easily human readable way. Now, we always say wallet, right? Hardware wallet, software wallet, Bitcoin wallet, Ethereum wallet. Well, wallet is the wrong word. You should call it keychain, because at the end, this specific thing is not saving or storing Bitcoins. It's storing keys, private keys, public keys, right? So keychain is like the right word to use if you talk about these softwares or hardwares that are allowing us to spend and to receive Bitcoins. Now, let's talk about hardware wallets, because again, as I told you before, we shouldn't use our notebook or our phone to create randomness and to store private keys, right? Because we don't want to trust it. What if we get a virus? What if we get hacked? What if we do something weird or shady or whatever? Now, in the Bitcoin community, created the so-called hardware wallets. So really, really tiny devices that are allowing us to create randomness, to generate a Bitcoin wallet, and to store the keys. Not only that, now we can attach these secure, safe, and offline hardware wallets to our daily notebook, to our daily computer. So even if the computer has a potential virus or malware, still, thanks to the hardware wallet, potential hackers cannot steal our private keys. So this is like a GIF showing how hardware wallets are working. As you can see from the left side, step number 1, we create a transaction on the computer or on the smartphone, right? We just say, I want to spend Bitcoin, I want to move Bitcoin from address A to address B.
Lo perdimos, ¿no?
Sí, me parece que tuvo un problema de conexión.
Sí.
Ahí está.
Then
Ahí.
the hardware wallet signs a transaction, okay?
Ricardo, we lost you for 30 seconds.
Sí, está teniendo intermitencias en la señal aparentemente.
Sí. A ver, espera que escribo.
Ahí volvió el video, pero no el audio.
You cannot hear me anymore, or what?
Yes.
No, we lost you for 30 seconds, more or less.
Okay, sorry. We are pretty far from each other. So
no,
30
yeah,
seconds,
yeah,
let me go back here. So hardware wallets, right? So we create a transaction with our computer, with our daily notebook. By the way, if there are issues, please feel free to say something, so at least I know that I have to go back. So we create a transaction from our smartphone or from our computer. We send the transaction to the hardware wallet. Since the hardware wallet is the device that owns and stores the private keys, it signs the transaction. Now the transaction is signed. So basically, since we are the only one that are owning the private key, we are also the only one that can sign a transaction and that can say to the world, hey, I'm the owner of the Bitcoins inside that specific address, that specific public key. So now we have the signed transaction, we send it back to the computer, and since the computer is connected to the internet, or the smartphone is connected to the internet, it broadcasts it to the rest of the network. So that's how hardware wallets are working. Now, imagine that the hardware wallet is the vault of our Bitcoin bank, right? So how do we store the money? In the physical world with fiat currencies, with dollar, euro, pesos, or whatever, we have to spend tons of energy and tons of money to create these giant vaults where to store the cash and the bills and the papers and the gold. So we need to use specific material. We need to have cameras. We need to have, police outside. We need to have fire extinguishers. We need to have a lot of really, really cool tech. And that's how banks are putting your money in a safe place. Again, you cannot see what's inside. You have to trust the bank. Well, in Bitcoin, imagine that your vault is transparent. Everyone can see what's inside the vault, but the vault is extremely safe because laws of the universe and the thermodynamics. Now, hardware wallets are vaults in our case so far. Imagine that for example, these are photos from the Nagasaki and Hiroshima attacks. Imagine that when banks are creating the vaults, they are making sure, they want to make sure that even for if there's like a nuclear attack, the vaults must be resilient. Okay, so they have to be resilient from physical attacks, from natural attacks, even from nuclear bombs. And again, these are our vaults, right? But at the end, it's not a safe place where to put our money, because it's still a piece of plastic with a LCD screen. So should we trust it? I don't know, man. I really don't want to trust it. Again, I told you we shouldn't fully trust black boxes, and at the same time, we shouldn't fully trust hardware wallets. And I'll explain you why. Now, hardware wallets must be minimal, okay, specialized, air-gapped, and open source. Why? Minimal because, as I told you, we don't want to use our daily notebook to create randomness, right? Because with our notebook, we can shoot photos, we can surf the internet, we can do a lot of things. So we just need to create randomness and to store randomness. Then it has to be specialized. We don't need to do crazy things with cryptography. We just want to create private keys, and we want to sign messages and use digital signatures to spend Bitcoin, right? Then it has to be air-gapped. So we don't want to connect the hardware wallet to the internet, because if something is connected to the internet, then it can be attacked by a remote attacker, right? By a hacker. You know, imagine that you have another wallet in Argentina, and there's an attacker, I don't know, in Japan. If your wallet is connected to the internet, then it can be reached by Japan, right? So if we keep it offline, at least we remove or we reduce the surface attack. And it has to be open source. We don't want to trust closed source devices, right? I mean, we can trust it. We do it every day. When you use your iPhone, you trust your iPhone. When you use your Microsoft or Google Pixel or whatever, you trust it, right? Well, in Bitcoin, we are talking about money. We are talking about decentralized money. So if you make a mistake, then it's your fault and it's your problem, right? We are the only guarantors of our security and privacy. So we shouldn't really trust black boxes. We shouldn't really trust unknown code. Luckily, Bitcoin is open source. Okay, you can check it. But most of the commercial software wallets and other wallets are not. So we should privilege and we should use open source instead of closed source. There's also another problem in the hardware wallet supply chain, because we can buy a beautiful hardware wallet online, right? But there are three different parts of the supply chain, which are upstream, manufacturing, and downstream. Now, supply chain is basically what happens between the producer of the small microchips in the hardware wallet and us, right? So we don't know what happens in that far Asian factory. We don't know if there's someone that is inserting a bug or a backdoor, or is manipulating or modifying our hardware wallet. So it can be a problem, right? A guy in Asia that is producing the microchips can attack us, during the upstream phase. Then there's a manufacturing phase, when, for example, the hardware wallet producer received the microchips from that specific Asian company, then is connecting all the microchips and the plastic and the LCD screen, blah, 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 putting the package all together. Again, we don't know what happens during that specific phase. We don't want to trust it, right? Well, that's another problem. During the manufacturing phase, someone can do shady things. Then there's a downstream phase. So a courier has to send us the package. What if he opens the package? What if he modifies or he wants to manipulate our device? Again, there are tons of different potential vulnerabilities between us and the hardware wallets that, again, we buy it to create randomness and to store and save randomness, right? Luckily, we can fix all these issues. You will learn how to do it today. So how do we create randomness? With dice, okay? With something like dice. So since in IT it's impossible to create randomness, we can use really simple things like dice. So imagine that you take, for example, 5 dice, you throw them, and you have 5 numbers, right? Between 0 and 6. You launch it again, you roll the dice again 100 times, then you will reach 128 bits of entropy, which is extremely good. But we don't want to trust it again. We can roll dice forever. Imagine that if you roll around 200 dice, just around, you will reach 256 bits of entropy. So it's extremely easy to create randomness. It's extremely easy to remove the trust that we have in other wallets, and other wallets are allowing us to do it, right? So instead of, for example, starting your other wallet and letting the microchips inside to create the randomness and to create your Bitcoin wallet, you can literally create randomness just by rolling the dice, okay? You can create even randomness by flipping a coin. You can create randomness in so many crazy and creative ways. These are advanced things. Again, it's not needed by 99% of the people out there. But again, since you want to be traders, since you want to manage money, since you want to be the only guarantors of your money, security and privacy, then you should remove every piece of trust that you have in other people, in other wallets, in microchips, or whatever, okay? Now, we create our randomness, but how do we backup it, right? How do we save this seed? How do we save the private keys? Again, we should avoid single point of failure. Now, there are really interesting ways to save the seed. Obviously, imagine that if you save your seed, if you save your 12 or 24 words in a single place, then a criminal can read it, can see it, can steal it, and you lose everything, right? Now, there are interesting things that you can do. For example, using the so-called Shamir backup scheme. And imagine that you split your seed in 3 different ways. And as you can see here, if an attacker gets just one part of the final seed, is not able to build the wallet, okay, to build and to get access to your Bitcoin vault, right? So imagine that you split the seed in multiple parts and you put them in different parts of the world, for example. Now there are also different ways to create a really strong backup that doesn't have single point of failure. Again, imagine that if you have your seed in a, I don't know, piece of paper and you keep it in your house, what if there's a fire in your house? What if there's like a flood, so water destroys your piece of paper? What if a criminal enters your house and finds the seed? Again, we're trying to remove every single point of failure. What if we forget where we put the seed phrase, right? Now, there's another way, the so-called seed XOR. So imagine that in order to get access to the final seed, okay, you need to have access to other 2 seeds, okay? Again, I have to be pretty fast, but you will see, you will find the slides at the end of the lesson. You can find all this information after. Then that's the best thing that we can do in Bitcoin, in my point of view, which is the so-called multi-sig. So, you know, when I told you that in order to spend from a specific public key, from a specific address, you need to have one private key. Well, Bitcoin allows us to create the so-called multi-signature wallets, where you have to have a specific amount of keys that you decide, right? For example, we can create a 3 out of 3 multi-signature wallet where we need 3 signatures out of 3 signatures to spend money. But it has a single point of failure, right? What if we lose one key? What if we lose it? What if we don't remember what is it? What if there's a fire? What if, again, we can be creative? For example, we can create a 2 out of 3 multi-signature wallet where we need 2 signatures, where we need 2 private keys out of 3, so 3 in total, but we just need 2 of them in order to spend Bitcoin. So imagine that you have, for example, 3 keys, 3 seeds, 3 hardware wallets, whatever, in 3 different places, right? In your house, in your deposit box, or in a safe at your bank, at your lawyer. Or imagine, for example, if you have a company, right? You are the CEO, there's the CTO, there's the CFO. You don't want to trust a single entity, right? What if someone dies? Then you lose all the Bitcoins in the company. It's crazy. You can create multi-signature schemes where, for example, the CEO, the CTO, the CFO, they have 3 keys and they need at least 2 of them to spend money. You can also create a 5 out of 10 multi-signature wallets. You can create 50 out of 200 if you want. It's crazy, okay? Makes not a lot of sense, but it's possible on a theoretical way. So this is probably the best thing that you can do right now in order to create a Bitcoin vault, right? Now, I told you before that we want to defend ourselves not only from physical attacks, but also from natural disasters, right? So we don't want to store the seed, we don't want to store the private keys in a piece of paper. What if our dog is hungry and eats it? Then it's a problem, right? What if, I don't know, our daughter drops some juice on the paper? Then it's a problem, right? Now, there are beautiful products that you can buy, but you can also craft yourself. There are the so-called seed plates, okay? So instead of saving the seed, the 12 or 24 words in a piece of paper, now you can save it in a safer way, right? In a metallic way. Right? So in this case, you don't write, but you literally use pressure, you use hammers to put dots, okay, in a specific seed plates, or words in a specific seed plate. So this allows us to remove every single point of failure, not only from hackers, because we have another wallet and it's offline, not only from thieves, because we split our seed or we use multi-signature schemes, but also from natural disasters, because we don't want to lose our Bitcoins because of fire, because of floods, because of hurricanes, tornadoes, or whatever. Now, there's this interesting tool, which is called the Seed Tool, and you can download it from GitHub. It's open source. It's a beautiful software that you can use to create randomness in different ways, with dice, with your computer, with coin flipping. That is showing you literally how randomness works and how seeds are working. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time today, but feel free to ping me, to write me, or feel free to scan this QR code, or feel free to download the software to see how these things are working. It's a beautiful tool. Remember, don't use it to store your Bitcoins, just use it for educational reasons, but use it because, again, the most important thing is that you don't only listen to this lesson, but you also try to implement strategies that you are learning today. Now, break time. Okay, ended. We have another half an hour. I'll try to be fast. Now, let's talk about privacy. Actually, I want to ask you, do we plan to have a Q&A session at the end of the
We can have a
lesson,
Q&A.
or
yeah, if you're open to do it, yes.
So far, do you like it? How's it going?
Everything good. We had a question, if you don't mind, about entropy.
Sure.
What does it mean for Bitcoin security, basically?
As I told you, we need to, so our Bitcoins are safe because of private keys, and private keys are extremely long numbers, right? The problem is that how do we create an extremely long number? With entropy, with randomness, with chaos, right? We can't create real randomness with IT. It's impossible because that's the pseudo randomness. We can create, I mean, we can use our computer. We do it every day. When we use credit cards, when we use WhatsApp, when we use Telegram, even now, if you check at Zoom, it's written HTTPS, right? The final S means that the connection is safe because of randomness, because of entropy, because of cryptography. So if we talk about randomness, if we talk about entropy, in the case of Bitcoin, we need it in order to create a really, really long number that it's almost impossible to guess. So there's a really interesting website, which is called keys.lol, LOL. And basically, every time that you refresh the page, you are creating, literally Bitcoin private keys, and you can see also what's inside the Bitcoin addresses and the Bitcoin public keys. So if you're lucky, you can guess someone else Bitcoin stash. You can guess someone else Bitcoin wallet. You can guess someone else, maybe, I don't know, Efrain or Sebastian that I see here in the call, or Alan, Bitcoin private key. Well, good luck. Because if you created a private key in a really random name, in a really random way, imagine that there are the same possibilities as the numbers that are in the known universe. So good luck. You know, that's why we need randomness. That's why we need
Exactly.
entropy. That's why we need the chaos while creating private keys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Obviously, so 99% of the people out there are trusting their daily notebooks, are trusting their own smartphone, they are trusting their wallets, but you don't have to. Okay, you can trust it. That's the beautiness of Bitcoin. You can trust it, right? But you shouldn't. Bitcoin gives you the possibility of being your own bank, being your own the only guarantor of your security and privacy. If you want, you do it. If you don't want, it's not a problem. You can avoid it, right? But you want to be traders. You want to manage money. Maybe your money, maybe other people's money. You need to take care of it, right? Because you are the only one that can create the Bitcoin vault. And you have to create a vault which is resilient.
Exactly, it's freedom, but at least with this type of sessions, you can understand and be responsible of your own decision. Make sense?
In order to be free, you have to do something, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Can you see the slides?
Wait.
Yeah.
Yep, perfect.
Nice. So let's talk about privacy. Now, privacy and security are two topics that are different, but are really close one to each other. Now, most of the times out there, if you don't have enough security, you will not have enough privacy. At the same time, if you don't have enough privacy, you will not have enough security. What do you mean by that? Imagine that you're using a device that you trust, okay? You're using, I don't know, your iPhone to create randomness and to talk about Bitcoin. I'm pretty sure that if we talk about Bitcoin, or if we talk about, I don't know, beautiful shampoos for our curly hair, after 10 minutes, we'll see an advertisement talking about Bitcoin or curly shampoo for curly hair, because our smartphone is not secure enough, probably, because we have something inside which is listening to us, so we don't have privacy. At the same time, if everyone knows that in your case, you are a big trader, you're managing billions of money in cryptocurrencies, and you are living in a specific street, in a specific city, then you might not be safe, right? Because you don't have privacy. Everyone knows that you're managing money, a lot of money, maybe crypto money, then you might have physical attacks. So again, security and privacy are two different topics, but are really close to each other. And it's important we talk about privacy as well. Now, in Bitcoin, I'm saying Bitcoin, but you can
applies to almost every cryptocurrency. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So if we talk about privacy in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, there's the network privacy, the protocol. No, sorry, Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies are composed by a network, by a protocol, and by a software. Now, the network is basically the way that we communicate to each other, right? That we say, hey, I sent 1 Bitcoin to Anna, I received 2 Bitcoins from Mario, or whatever. So it allows us to connect to each other, to create a network of people, a network of Bitcoiners, a network of users, right? Now, this network has rules. The protocol defines the rules. So only if you have the private key, you can spend money from this address. You can spend money from the public key. You can show to the world that you own those Bitcoins, right? You cannot double spend. You cannot fake money. You cannot inflate Bitcoin as you want. There's no a central authority that can change Bitcoin, because it's a network composed by rules that are defined by a protocol. Now, in order to communicate with the network, in order to following the network rules and the protocol rules, you need to use a software, right? So that's how Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies are composed by. Now, in Bitcoin, there's a interesting privacy model. There are identities, transactions, and then there's the public, which means that everyone can see how many Bitcoins do you have, where the Bitcoins are going, from what address to what address, at what time, at how many fees you spend to send it. So everything is public, right? So everyone knows about everything. Meanwhile, if we talk about the traditional privacy model, we have banks that are like basically a big brother, so they know everything about us, right? They know what we do, they know when we spend money, where, with whom, but at least they're protecting us from the public. So the public maybe knows only what bank you're using, knows only the bank coordinates, but they cannot see how much money you have inside your bank. They cannot see how when you're doing transaction and what you bought in the last 2 months, right? In Bitcoin, yes. The best and the cool thing about Bitcoin is that everything is transparent, but pseudonymity protects you. Now, unfortunately, still today, people are saying that Bitcoin is anonymous money. It's not anonymous at all. It's extremely transparent. You can see everything in real time, but pseudonymity allows you to have some degrees of privacy, right? So you don't see full names, you don't see names and surnames, you just see random strings of characters, right? You cannot say that that specific address is from Mario's address. You can guess it, right? So pseudonymity allows us to use Bitcoin in a safe way and to have some degrees of privacy. Everyone can see everything, but they cannot connect people, names and surnames to addresses unless the owner wants to. In Bitcoin, I'm transparent by default. I can tell to the people, hey, I'm the owner of this specific address, but I'm not forced to do so. I am free to do it. Now, if we talk about privacy, there's the privacy on the blockchain level and the privacy on the network level. So on the blockchain level, there are addresses that are allowing us to communicate with each other, to send Bitcoins, to receive Bitcoins. So they are connected to us, right? We have potentially infinite addresses in our wallets. And unless we connect our real name and surname to those addresses, we are protected. Now, all the transactions, all the balances of these addresses are public and are shared between the participants and the users of the network. So everyone that has the blockchain has the history, that everyone that has the ledger has the history of the Bitcoin blockchain. So you can literally see everything that happened from the beginning of Bitcoin, from the first transaction that happened from Satoshi Nakamoto to Hal Finney to the transaction that happened 1 second ago. You can see it. Now, again, this is interesting, right? Because it allows us to have decentralized money where no one can control the network itself. No one can inflate it. No one can change it. So everything is based on consensus. This is still a problem because it means that everyone can see how many Bitcoins are in your transparent Bitcoin bank, right? In your Bitcoin vault. Now, not only that, Bitcoin is a connected network. It's an internet, a network and money based on internet, right? So in order to connect to the internet, in order to use Bitcoin, you are also recognized by a specific IP address. So that's how we communicate with each other to the internet. So in order to do a call, we need to share potentially our IP addresses. So that's another piece of information that we are sharing to other people, right? And we should protect it somehow. Then there's also the fact that just by talking and just by posting on social medias that we are Bitcoiners, just by saying on Twitter, hey, I'm following this beautiful lesson by Riccardo Masutia. By the way, when and if there will be a survey, say 5 out of 5 for Riccardo. But in any case, just by saying that you're using Bitcoin, you are potentially exposing yourself to the public. So it can be interesting if you want to do it, but remember there's also a privacy problem behind it. So imagine that if there's like a privacy leak on the left side, the red one, A, and there's a privacy leak on the right side, B, then there's a privacy leak in the middle, the yellow one. So imagine that, for example, I'm using a forum or I'm participating in a Facebook group regarding I don't know, trading, okay, and I'm posting my Bitcoin addresses my Bitcoin address, and then with that specific address I'm buying newspapers. Then there's a connection, right? There are two privacy leaks they are creating a new privacy leak that can be used to track our finances and to see how we are spending money in the cryptocurrency world. So it's a problem, right? So remember, every time that you share addresses, you are exposing yourself. So if I'm sharing, for example, or if, I don't know, Mario, I'm saying Mario tonight because I'm Italian, so Mario Rossi is a classical Italian stereotype. Or Mario and Luigi are exchanging their addresses, right? So Mario sends money to Luigi. Now Luigi is able to see the history behind Mario's address. He can see that maybe Mario sent him 1 Bitcoin, but maybe 2 years before he received 10 Bitcoins, and he can track all the money, all the transactions, and how they are moving across the blockchain. So remember that every time that you are sharing Bitcoins, that you are sending Bitcoin, that you're receiving Bitcoin, you're exposing that specific address and how many Bitcoins and how many transactions happen in that specific address. Okay, so address connected to the address, connected to the address. Pseudonymity protects us, but if someone knows an address, he can track or she can track the past, the present, and the future of that specific address. So when we are using our banks, eavesdroppers cannot spy on our transactions. When we are using Bitcoin, everyone can see what we do. So in order to protect our financial habits, we shouldn't say to the world that we are Bitcoiners, that we are owners of a specific address, and we bat lemonade with it, right? Now, let's talk about the blockchain privacy and the attacks. There are different heuristics, different things that we can use in order to track people's money. There's the so-called common input ownership heuristic. So a Bitcoin transaction is composed by inputs, so what we are spending, and outputs, so who's receiving it, right? So left side inputs, right side outputs. On the input side, most of the times, 99% of the times, all the inputs belong to the same person, right? We see in a graphical way, don't worry. It sounds weird right now, but we see it in a graphical way. So then there's the change address detection. So in Bitcoin, when you spend money, most of the times you will create change. For example, I have a $10 bill and I want to, I don't know, buy 9 ice creams. I give the $10 bill, then the ice cream shop will give me back $1 bill. That's the change. So in Bitcoin, it's the same thing. You can, if you want to make a transaction, you have one input of 1 Bitcoin and you want to buy an ice cream that costs 0.4, then you will create a transaction that has 1 Bitcoin as an input and 2 outputs. So 0.4 to the ice cream shop and 0.6 that goes back to our wallet in another address as change. Then there's the wallet fingerprinting, because again, there are different software wallets that are working in different ways, and since they are unique, we can track them. So if I know that you are using a specific software wallet, I might be able to see all the transactions that can be related to the specific software wallet. Then there are the round numbers. Now, unfortunately, for humans, it's easier to think with round numbers, right? 1 Bitcoin, 0.2 Bitcoins. It's weird to think about 0.1236987, right? It's weird. So round numbers is another thing that we can use to track people's money. Then there are other things like wallet bugs, unnecessary input heuristics, address use, which is the most important one, because if you're using the same address, then everyone that sends you money to that specific address or receives money from that specific address, then is able to see all the other transactions that you did in the past or you will do in the future. So rule number 1, don't reuse addresses. You can have infinite public keys, infinite private keys, so use them. Then there's the exact payment amount, so no change. It's kind of impossible that in Bitcoin you will do a no change transaction, and we see it how. And then there's the sending to a different script type heuristic. Now, in Bitcoin, there are different types of addresses starting with 1, addresses starting with 3, addresses starting with BC1. So again, different script types, different addresses. I'm able to track them in specific ways. We'll see it how. So let's go fast because we don't have a lot of time. So for example, if we talk about types of addresses here, we can see that there are addresses starting with 1, with free, with BC1Q, BC1P, and here you can see that there are transactions, inputs, outputs, amounts. Everything looks weird, right? So it's a mess. If you go to a blockchain, it's a mess. You don't understand anything. Actually, if you think it's a mess, after this lesson and after you will spend some more time checking the slides and the links inside, you will understand that it's not messy at all. So the more information you have about your targets, the more you know about Bitcoin privacy or cryptocurrency privacy, the easier it will be to track other people's money, and the easier it will be, which is that the goal of this lesson is to protect your own privacy when you use cryptocurrencies, right? It's messy, but if you know how this thing works, then trust me, it's not messy at all, and you can reconstruct things. Now, this is a common transaction, right? There's the input at the output on the left side that is used as an input, okay? Because you receive transaction, you receive Bitcoins as outputs, and then you use them again as input for a new transaction. So on the left side, you can see the red ones, there are new inputs, and on the right side, new outputs. So Alice spends money, sends money to Bob, and receives change to her wallet. Okay, and here you can see a common transaction with two outputs. Which one is the change? So if I'm Bob and I'm receiving money from Alice, I know that the second output is as Alice change. So I will be able to keep tracking Alice's money and how she will spend the money in the future. That's a problem on a privacy level. Then there's aggregating transaction. So if there's a transaction, for example, with more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inputs, then the receiver, not only the receiver, but everyone in the world can understand that all the inputs on the left side are belonging to the same person. So now they can track the history of the specific addresses. They can see how and when they received money, how they spent it, when they spent it, etc., etc., etc. So it's another privacy issue. So here you can find the Bitcoin pizza transaction where Laszlo Hayek in 2010 spent 10,000 Bitcoin to buy 2 pizzas and 1 Coke. And you can see that there are tons of different inputs and just one output. Then there's the distributed transaction. For example, you can see 1 input on the left side and 4 outputs, or even 10, 20, hundreds of outputs on the right side. In this case, imagine Bitfinex, for example, a cryptocurrency exchange that is sending money to their clients. So imagine that the client number 1 wants to withdraw money, client number 2 wants to withdraw money, client number 3 wants to withdraw money. Then Bitfinex will create a transaction, a single transaction that gives money to each specific customer, right? So here you can find, for example, a Bitfinex withdrawal where you see inputs on the left side and tons of different outputs on the right side. Then there's a self-transfer transaction, because most of the times, if you don't create change, it means that you're just moving Bitcoins or crypto from your wallet, your address to another address, because it's kind of impossible that you will have the exact amount in Bitcoin to pay for exact amount as a service or a product. Most of the times you will create change. So by knowing that 99.9% of the times you will create change, if you see a transaction that has no change, probably is the same person that is moving money across addresses that he or she owns. So it's a self-transfer. Then there's a problem with round numbers. Now, again, it's kind of impossible that you will have to send 0.1 Bitcoin exactly, right? So if we see a transaction that has, for example, 2 outputs, one is 0.1 and another one is 0.052531, then it's pretty easy to guess that the output with 0.1 Bitcoin is the receiver, and the other output without a round number is the change that goes back to my wallet, right? Again, I know, guys, it's difficult to understand just by watching links and by listening to me, but you have all the slides and all the links, and you can check it by yourself. So it's important to consider all these things, because every time that you send money, that you receive money, you're exposing yourself to the public, and this specific information will stay there forever, right? You cannot delete it. So if you make up a mistake today, if you're exposing to yourself today on a blockchain level, you cannot change the past. So remember it next time that you send or receive Bitcoin, right? Then luckily, after a while, people started to say, hey, I don't like this thing anymore. I don't want to be easily trackable on chain, on a blockchain. So they created the mixing services, right? So at the beginning, people were sending money to random guys on the internet. Sometimes they were sending the money back, sometimes not. Obviously, they didn't want to trust people, right? Bitcoins don't trust other people. So they created the so-called mixing services. So a mix, like a coin join, for example, is basically an extremely big transaction, okay, that has inputs on the left side and outputs on the right side. Again, if you remember, we said that it's easy to track change, to track receivers, to track people on the blockchain level. But imagine that you create a transaction with other 5 users, other 10 users, other hundreds of users, and you say, let's create a transaction together. Let's put inputs together, and let's create outputs with a single and same denomination. Now, as you can see here, all the outputs on the right side that are gray are private. So no one on a blockchain level is able to say that a specific gray output of 1 Bitcoin is from
Lo perdimos de vuelta, ¿no?
that guy. Not help anyone to track your own money.
Ahí está.
Ricardo.
Sí, ahí otra vez está teniendo
Sí.
un poco de intermitencia.
Sí, sí. A ver. No. Ricardo.
At least by improving
Ricardo,
your
we lost you.
chain, you are protecting yourself. Yeah.
We lost you for 30 seconds
Sorry.
again. No worries, no worries.
Sorry, I'm trying to go faster. My
We
connection is
were-
not fast enough today.
Yeah, we were at slide 68. You were fishing,
Okay.
fishing slide 68.
Yeah, so basically, as you can see here, no one is able to say if, for example, a specific output, a gray output on the right, is from the red guy on the left, or to the yellow guy, from the yellow guy, or from the red, blue, pink guy on the left. So if you create a coin join with other people, with other participants of the Bitcoin network, and you say, let's create a transaction together, and let's create outputs with the same denomination, now no one, not even the participants in the coin join, and not even external observers are able to say, hey, a specific gray output is coming from Mario, which is a red guy, or is coming from Luigi, which is the yellow guy. It's impossible. You can guess, right? So the more coin joins you do, the bigger the coin joins are, the more difficult it will be for external observers, or for example, from criminals, okay, to track your finances and to see how you're spending your money in the future. Now you can get an example of a coin join, a Wasabi Wallet coin join from this link, and you will see that it has some inputs on the left side and tons of different outputs on the right side of the same denomination. So you will not be able to say how the money moved and what input belongs to what output and what output belongs to what input. You can achieve this by using different software, for example, Join Market, Wasabi Wallet, or Samurai Wallet and Whirlpool. So it's a good way to achieve privacy on chain.
I
Then
think,
there's the Lightning Network.
sorry to interrupt you. I think Trezor also added it into their wallet as well.
Who?
Trezor.
Ah, okay.
Trezor.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, Trezor with Wasabi Wallet, yes.
Mhm.
So it's a good way. Unfortunately, people will say to you, hey, you don't have anything to hide, so if you care about privacy, you're a criminal. Well, if saying that if I want privacy, it means that I'm a criminal. Yes, I am a criminal, okay? Because I want to define my rights to be free, okay? So privacy is important. If people will say to you that you don't need privacy because you don't have nothing to hide, it's like saying, that you don't need to speak because you don't have anything to say, right?
Okay.
We want to protect our money. We want to protect our privacy. It's a right. It's a human right, and it's a human fight. So remember to fight for your privacy, especially if you're using money which is transparent especially if you make a transaction today and it's going to be forever. So in 50 years, your kids will be able to see how you spend money on the Bitcoin, on Bitcoin, right? So we need privacy in Bitcoin, right? So don't believe to people that say, oh, you don't need privacy, you don't have anything to hide. All of us, we need something. We need to hide something, right? That's exactly why we have curtains in our bedroom when we have sex with our partners, okay? Because we need privacy. We want to protect that part of our life. That's exactly why we have, I don't know, or we hide our phones when we are in a train next to random people, okay? We care about privacy. Now, if you talk about money, if you talk about transparent money, if you talk about Bitcoin, you are the only guarantors of your security and privacy, so fight for it, and remember that it's a human right. So after that, let's talk about Lightning Network. I will go really fast, 3-4 minutes, and then we finish. Lightning Network is an extremely interesting concept that is improving privacy on a blockchain level because there's no blockchain. So instead of having transactions on a blockchain side, we create channels between people, one transaction on a blockchain level, and then we are able to send money across Lightning Network without writing transactions on the blockchain side. We just write one transaction to open a channel. We can use that channel to send and receive money forever. And if you want to close it in the future, then we create another transaction to close it. Now I can send money to Bob. Bob can send money to Alice infinite times. And also if Bob has a channel with Carol, and Carol has a channel with Diana, and Diana with Eric, now Alice and Eric can communicate with each other. Again, by sending and receiving Bitcoins without writing transactions on the blockchain, without exposing addresses, amounts, times, or whatever. And also, Bob, Carol, and Diana will not be able to see exactly if Alice is sending money to Eric or vice versa. They just know that they receive money from Alice, and Bob just knows that they receive money from Alice and he needs to send it to Carol. Carol just knows that he received money to Bob and needs to send it to Diana. Diana, that she's receiving money from Carol and needs to send it to Eric. So people between us, people between the sender and the receiver, will not be able to know exactly who's sending money to whom. Then there are the side chains, for example, Liquid Network, where transactions are public, but the amounts are not public, are confidential. So you can still see the addresses, but you don't see the amounts. So it's an interesting concept. Here you can see, for example, another Liquid transaction. That's the network privacy, because again, it's a network, it's online, and it can be used to track people's money. There's the traffic gossip analysis. There are blockchain explorers and the SPV, simplified payment verification attack. Now, if we talk about traffic and gossip analysis, just by knowing, for example, that you have a node at home and every 10 minutes there's a new block, you can guess that you are a Bitcoiner. Also, imagine that, for example, your node is the first one that sends a transaction, that broadcasts a transaction. Then there are two things. You are the sender or you are the receiver. Now, the so-called gossip analysis works because nodes, because users in the Bitcoin network are gossiping about each other. Hey, I know about this transaction. Is it valid? Yes, let me check. Okay, yeah, it's valid. Let's say to another node. Okay, hey, I want to send money to Mario. Please send it to other nodes so you can validate it and you can be sure that I'm not cheating. Okay, we are gossiping. Okay, we are saying in a decentralized network that we want to make transactions and we're checking other people's transactions. We want to make sure that no one is cheating us. And this traffic is transparent. We can see it, we can hear it, we can read it. Then there are the blockchain explorers, because again, you might use an explorer to check a balance, to check a specific transaction, to check if it was confirmed. It's a problem, right? Because there are so many different transactions happening at the same time. And if you check a specific address or a specific transaction in a blockchain explorer, there are two ways. You are the sender or you are the receiver most of the times, right? So you are exposing yourself. You are saying to an explorer, hey, I'm coming from this IP address, coming from this specific region in Argentina, from this specific city. I want to check this specific address. Can you give me the information? Now it's a problem because you're connecting your IP, your browser, your location to a specific Bitcoin address. Now, if the website, if the blockchain explorer is legit, then it's okay, you can trust it. But what if it's a malicious? What if it's an explorer that is there just to track you? Guys, again, it's happening, right? So blockchain explorers are currently used also to track people's money. Then there's the SPV attack, because if you don't have a node, if you don't have the blockchain at home, then you need to ask the information to someone else. If you have it at home, you can say, hey, okay, I want to check if my balance is correct or not. You don't ask information. If you don't have a node, if you don't have the history, if you don't have the ledger, the blockchain, you need to ask it to someone else. Now, if you're asking it to someone that is legit, it's not a problem. You can trust it. But again, there are tons of companies and tons of users that are making tons of money tracking your money, okay? Tracking your Bitcoins. So don't trust other random nodes. Don't trust other random people. Run your own node, be your own bank, be free, and be private. Now, some beautiful photos and screenshots that can show you that it's really easy to track people's money. So for example, here we can see a hacker trying to launder money on the blockchain side. Here you can see, for example, the donation that happened in Canada when was the COVID lockdown. You remember the Freedom Truck initiative, where truck drivers were tired of the government. They started to receive money as donation to their bank accounts. Then the government blocked their own accounts, and they say, let's use Bitcoin. It's anonymous, right? Well, guess what? It's not anonymous. So it was extremely easy to track all the money and all the donations to the truck drivers. Or for example, you can see the balance on a specific period for a specific Bitcoin address. You can see how much money received or sent. You can see the transactions, on what days, or what time, how many amounts, and how many times per day. You can see the volumes. You can see periods, temporal patterns. Hey, this user is not sending money between midnight and 8 a.m. Maybe he's living in Argentina, right? So you can guess all these things just by looking at the blockchain level. So again, remember that all these things are transparent, and it's extremely easy to track people's money. For example, ransomwares as well. You know, when they're blocking your computers, they're asking for Bitcoins as a payment. Well, it's still easy to track hackers and criminals as well. Again, we don't want to, and I don't want to teach about privacy, because I believe that you are criminals and you want to hide something. I'm here to teach about privacy because you want to be traders, because you want to manage money in cryptocurrency world. You want to manage others people's money in cryptocurrency world. And remember that you need privacy and you need security, because you are the only guarantors of your security and privacy. So these are the credits, and this was the lesson. I hope that you enjoyed it. I know it was pretty complex and technical, I guess. I just had 1 hour, but I'm pretty sure that if you check the slides and the links, you will find tons of different tools and different articles and different websites that you can use to improve your knowledge about this beautiful world.
Okay, thank you very much. It was super clear, at least for me, it was super clear. If anyone has a question or something to clarify, preguntas o algo para clarificar o...
Yo estoy leyendo una pregunta. Now, there's someone that says that there isn't inflation on Bitcoin. It's not true. That's another misconception. There is inflation on Bitcoin, but we know it. We know that every 10 minutes around, there are new Bitcoins mined, right? It's not true that it's deflationary.
Wait, but that's...
There is a controlled inflation.
Okay, but
because of mining.
But that's distribution, not inflation. We can discuss it. It's not. I think it's not for this talk, but it's true. Mainly it's distribution, because it's a fixed supply. Everybody knows that it's a fixed supply, and it's a way how you distribute it inside the system. What happens with the miners, with the incentive for the miners?
The maximum supply is fixed, but there's a small inflation which is based on mining, right? So when Bitcoin was created, there were 50 new Bitcoins every block. Now there are
Yeah.
6.25. In 1 month, it will be 3 dot something. So there's still some inflation right now, but it's controlled, and we know exactly what's going to happen in the next hundred of years. So they always say, you know, in 2140, the last Bitcoin will, no, the last Satoshi will be mined. So there will be no inflation anymore.
But you can call it inflation, technically speaking.
I don't know, man. I mean, I'm just talking about security. I'm not an economist.
All right. Ricardo, I know it's late in Europe, so thank you again for the time. I have one question. El Servicio de Tributación Nacional. That one is for me probably. So no worries. Feel free. Thank you very much for the time, and thank you very much. I know it's late there.
Thank you for the invite. Again, I hope that you enjoyed it. I know it was probably difficult to follow everything. Again, it takes a lot of time to learn about Bitcoin. It's such a crazy topic. It's such a complex topic, but it's here to stay. And it's here to improve our lives. It's here to improve our world. Imagine that last thing, and I go, that internet allows us to communicate in a way, and going against entities that are trying to censor the communication and censor the information. Now, Bitcoin is doing the same with money. So we are able to transact, to send money, to receive money, without being controlled by single entities that want to censor the money. They want to inflate the money. They want to steal our money, okay? It's a beautiful and good technology. You are the only one that are the guarantors of your own money. So study and make sure to improve Bitcoin and improve the world.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Have a good day.
Ricardo. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bueno,
Bien.
espero que haya aclarado muchas cosas. Pero la discusión de la inflación yo la discuto hasta muerte, pero está bien, es otro tema. Pasará en otro contexto.
Será para otra oportunidad.
Será para otra oportunidad.
Si te parece, Efraín, hacemos el
Dale.
switch a lo que sería el co-host y aparte pongo la
Dale.
parte de, bueno, del video que tenemos preparado. ¿Te
Sí,
parece bien?
en realidad esta charla pensábamos que la podía llegar a dar nuestro CEO, que es Pablo Ardoino. De cualquier forma, mandó un video de 10 minutitos que cuenta un poco cuenta un poco la historia de Tether y sobre stablecoins. Entonces, después lo que voy a hacer es profundizar un poco más sobre stablecoins puntualmente como tema. Así que mande video.
Genial. Bueno, vamos a ver. Bien, ahí ya la gente debería estar pudiendo ver.
Ahí se ve perfecto, sí.
Vamos a ver si se escucha bien. Voy a darle un segundito play para ver si se escucha correctamente. Y si me dan el ok, vuelvo para atrás, así ya empezamos de corrido. A ver.
Dale.
Hello everyone, I'm Pablo Arduino.
Estamos ok.
Perfecto.
Listo. Empecemos entonces.
Hello everyone, I'm Pablo Arduino and I'm the CEO at Tether. Thank you very much for being here today. I'd like to introduce to you, maybe many of you already know USDT and the main product Tether, but I want to introduce to you the concept of a stable coin. Tether USDT was created in 2014 and was the first stablecoin ever created. So was the precursor of an entire industry. As of today, we know that the market cap of USDT is around 130 billion, but it all started with a simple idea: how to put the most used fiat currency in the world, the US dollar, on top of probably the most important innovation in the financial space and the technology space in the last many years, the blockchain. So if you think about USDT, it's simple as a digital dollar, or is just a dollar on a blockchain. And when it was created in 2014, its purpose was simple. Its purpose was to facilitate the cryptocurrency trading settlement. There were a few exchanges in the world, for example, Bitfinex, Coinbase, Kraken, Bitstamp, and OKCoin. And the landscape of crypto was completely different than today. And these exchanges had to facilitate international wires and dollar settlements. But at that time, still today, but at that time was really difficult for traders that wanted to arbitrage the price of Bitcoin to send wires from one exchange to another. The arbitrageur functionality is extremely simple. You sell Bitcoin on the exchange where the price is higher. So you get dollars out of this operation. You move the dollars through a banking wire to the exchange where the price is lower, and you use these dollars once credited to buy back Bitcoin on the exchange where the price is lower. And you do this in repetition. But you can see how with international wires, it could take 1 day, 3 days, 7 days.
¿Sí? Perdón.
Sí, veo como que Hugo se deslagueó, claro. Desincronizó.
A ver, voy a retroceder unos segundos. Hasta por acá. Un poquito más.
A ver, ahí está. A verlo ahí.
The price is lower, and you use these dollars
No, creo que es el video.
credited to buy back Bitcoin on the exchange where the price is lower. And you do this.
En mi caso yo lo veo bien.
Ahí está, listo. Entonces déjalo así.
Ok. Sí, acá fueron comentando, yo lo escucho perfecto, se ve bien. Sí, por ahí fue algo del momento, pero ahora aparentemente se ve bien.
Dale.
Bien, seguimos. Cualquier cosa igual, si llegara algún
No,
inconveniente.
igual por ahí fui yo. Si a todos dicen que se ve bien, por ahí fui yo. Por ahí fue mi internet.
Listo, perfecto. Procedimos.
In repetition. But you can see how with the international wires, it could take 1 day, 3 days, 7 days. There are weekends, right? The international banking industry is making it really difficult to send wires. And that was the reason for the entire reason of existence of USDT was to facilitate, to help moving dollars at the same speed with the lowest friction possible, similarly to moving Bitcoin. Fast forward many years, USDT has been changing its purpose or adding another and probably much more important purpose. So we all know how starting from 2019, then 2020, the pandemic created or worsened an already distressed situation on the global financial markets and local economies in many countries, starting from the emerging markets, developing countries, but also in countries like Argentina, for sure, not only in Turkey, in Vietnam, in Venezuela. So many countries had seen and started to see their national currencies devaluating really, really quickly against the US dollar. And so people started to use USDT, that was the first digital dollar that anyone could keep on a wallet on their phones, as the main primary payment method and also savings method for entire communities, cities, and hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people. And as of today, hundreds of millions of people are using USDT on a monthly basis for payments, for saving, to provide for their families. And honestly, I wish I could be here to say to you that in 2014 we envisioned all of this, but the reality is that we created a product that is just useful, a product that is simple, and we are humbled to see today that this product is helping people's lives, is almost a life vest, a lifeline for entire families that need to be able to save in a currency that is more resilient and resistant than their national currency, right? So if you think about the Turkish lira or the Argentinian pesos, you can see why is, many people really are looking to the US dollar as a better alternative, as a better fiat alternative for saving their wealth. And from there, our learnings as Tether on stablecoin market has been immense. We have been working really hard to make USDT the most resilient product in terms of stablecoins out there. In the recent years, we have increased the level of transparency. We have provided quarterly attestations to showcase the reserves that are backing USDT. We believe at Tether that having a much better risk management, more transparent process, and more resilient reserves than the banks is extremely important. We know how USDT, as I said, has been important for hundreds and is important for hundreds of millions of people. So for us, when Tether USDT started to become extremely profitable as a business, we decided to keep the vast majority of these profits within the stable coin. As of today, USDT has more than $5 billion of excess reserves on top of the 100 reserves that Tether needs to hold to back all the issued tokens. But USDT has $5 billion, so 5% more equity, more value, more assets, more than all the issued tokens to give more stability, to provide more reassurance. Because we want to prove that, we want to prove that banks in the past decades have always took too much leverage, always took too much risk with the investors, with the depositors' money. We don't need to do that. That is not the right way. That is not the right service that people need. People need to know that their money is safe, and that's the simple thing we like to do at Tether. Being the company that is there for the people, and we are really quickly we are trying to expand this very same concept in other areas. We are expanding the same concept into energy production, Bitcoin mining, education, telecommunication, artificial intelligence. So now, today that Tether is mostly known for USDT, we want to tell you guys, and we want to tell to the world that we see the extreme need of open, transparent solutions that are global, that are going to give back to people their own freedom, from the financial freedom that is given by USDT and Bitcoin, to the ability of and to the human right called freedom of speech through projects like Hole Punching Teeth. So I really hope that from today you can look at Tether as a company that is producing good, high quality infrastructure for maybe your project or your company or your community, your family, your group of friends, your government, your country. Thank you very much, everyone.
Bueno, un lujo.
Bueno, espectacular.
Bien, voy a dejar de compartir acá.
Bueno, y yo te comparto esto y ahora me dicen, y no. Y ahora me dicen, se ve esto.
Ahí está, se ve perfecto.
Pongo la parte de, espera un segundo, ¿cómo es? Para experimentar acá. Pues tengo la barrita esta. Si te ve.
Sí, ahí se ve bien.
Ok, perfecto. Bueno, a ver, espérenme que voy a tratar de reorganizar esto de alguna manera. Espera. Pues la barrita esta me molesta bastante y voy a abrir el mensajero por si me hacen preguntas acá. Las puedo ir viendo. A ver. Ok. Bueno. En realidad es así. La charla de Paolo básicamente fueron 10 minutos de darles un poco el contexto de por qué Tether, cómo nació inicialmente, cuál es el contexto de la empresa en este momento, hacia dónde está enfocando la empresa, ¿sí? Y también cuál es el antagonismo entre Tether y el sistema financiero tradicional. Eso, digo, es parte de toda esta revolución que se originó con Bitcoin, pero que de alguna manera se está replicando hacia todos los demás criptoactivos, digamos, ¿no? Entonces, bueno, como él dijo bien, la génesis de Tether o del concepto de USDT, ¿sí? Es de 2014, originalmente en un proyecto llamado Realcoin, y que de alguna manera tomaba otro proyecto en paralelo. O sea, ustedes piensen que en 2014, 2013, o sea, lo único que existía era Bitcoin, ¿sí? Y no había otra implementación de blockchain. En algún momento, algunas personas empezaron a entender el concepto, empezaron a pensar este nuevo concepto de lo que se llaman sidechains, que son blockchains que van de alguna manera atadas a una blockchain de una infraestructura que se llama Layer 1 o capa 1, que sería una blockchain de Bitcoin descentralizada, segura, etcétera. Se le adosa una segunda capa en otra blockchain que tiene diferentes capacidades o le agrega funcionalidades a la capa 1, ¿no? Pasa con Polygon sobre Ethereum o cualquiera de las L2 actuales sobre Ethereum. Bueno, lo mismo para Bitcoin. Y en el caso este, el proyecto se llama Mastercoin, que básicamente lo que hacía, o el concepto de Mastercoin, era decir, che, si nosotros podemos mandar dinero utilizando Bitcoin, ¿sí? De una punta a la otra del planeta en 10 minutos, ¿por qué no podemos mandar otro tipo de tokens utilizando la misma tecnología que valgan otra cosa? ¿Sí? Y bueno, y uno de esos primeros proyectos de esta red Omni, que se llamó esta como segunda capa, fue Realcoin, que básicamente también tenía el mismo concepto, era un token de $1 con un token en la red. Y en 2015, esto básicamente porque había muchos...
Está habiendo aparentemente una pequeña falla de audio, me parece.
¿Cómo?
Que hubo como una pequeña falla de audio cuando dijiste 2015, justo ahí como que hubo una falla
Ah,
de lo que dijiste después.
ok, en 2000, a ver si tengo el internet y la tormenta.
Exacto.
En 2015 se toma el proyecto, ¿sí? Y varios exchanges empiezan a integrar esta red Omni y estos tokens, que eran los primeros USDT emitidos, estaban sobre la red Omni, para poder permitirle a los market makers, para poder permitir a los fondos de inversión, arbitrar los precios de Bitcoin de diferentes usos horarios en todo el planeta, ¿sí? Porque las disparidades de precios eran muy grandes. Luego, en 2017, y eso es cuando pega el salto en uso, digamos, de USDT, aparecen los ICOs, ¿sí? Y es cuando acá por abajo tiene la capitalización de mercado de Tether entre febrero de 2015 y septiembre de 2017. O sea, fíjense el salto, ¿sí? Perdón, es hasta septiembre de 2023. Pero fíjense el salto en 2017, como de casi no tener nada, pues teníamos $1 millón bajo custodia, saltamos a tener casi 10 millones de dólares y así sucesivamente. Llegamos a los 100 millones de dólares. ¿Por qué razón? Porque si algunos de esa época, los ICOs, que eran como el nuevo uso de la blockchain, ¿sí? Lo que disparó de alguna manera el bull run de esa época, solamente se podía entrar o con Ethereum o con Bitcoin, pero no había nada que fuese de relación de valor estable. Entonces empezaron a aceptar USDT y por eso también es que empezaron a haber fondos que nos empezaron a pedir a nosotros que creemos USDT sobre la red de Ethereum. Y así se fueron ampliando después diferentes blockchains. O sea, el concepto de Tether es, si bien nosotros tenemos una inclinación hacia Bitcoin, ¿sí? O sea, somos bitcoiners, la empresa es una empresa bitcoiner, netamente. La realidad es que para que esto sea un enabler de libertad, sí o sí tiene que poder soportar la mayoría de las blockchains posibles, porque el mundo, digo, aunque a mí por ahí no me guste tanto, pero en realidad el mundo va hacia un futuro de multi-blockchain. Blockchains para casos de uso, blockchain para usos puntuales, etc. Entonces, si las capacidades técnicas de la blockchain nos lo permiten, nosotros en general soportamos el token de USDT en esta blockchain. Y en 2018 empiezan a aparecer los primeros exchanges que tenían todo su respaldo, Binance fue el primero de hecho, que tenían todo su respaldo en USDT. O sea, originalmente en Binance vos no podías depositar dinero, vos podías depositar solamente USDT. Y todos los libros de órdenes, todos estaban contra USDT. ¿Y eso qué pasó? Cuando Binance empezó a crecer en cantidad de usuarios, los fondos empezaron a ir a moverse y a mover fondos a Binance y por ende empezaron a requerir cada vez más USDT. Entonces empezamos a crecer en capitalización de mercado. Y en 2020 lo que pasó, que fue como el shift en uso, porque ya no se utilizó como una moneda para inversión. Se empezó a utilizar directamente como una moneda de pago, una moneda de settlement internacional, por la pandemia, por la dificultad para mover fondos, y por el otro lado porque la guerra de Ucrania cortó muchos de los rieles de pago internacionales. Entonces, medio como que se empezó a quedar lejos ciertas geografías con Asia, que era el principal exportador, e importador de materias primas. Entonces, por eso de golpe y porrazo ven que se dispara. Pues de golpe empezó a tener otros usos. La gente empezó a ahorrar en eso. La gente empezó a utilizar yo me acuerdo de las cuevas en Argentina. Las cuevas en Argentina empezaron, como no podían mover dinero físico porque estaba prohibida salir a la calle, empezaron a utilizar los USDT, incluso sin saber. Me acuerdo llamados de gente diciéndome de una cueva, che, mandé a este address y no sé por qué no llegó. Y en realidad estaban mandando por la red Tron a la red de Ethereum y no tenían ni la más remota idea que había diferencia, ¿entendés? Sí, al principio fue como muy caótico, por decirlo de alguna manera. Bueno, y en 2023 es cuando se consolida el modelo nuestro frente a los otros tipos de monedas estables. Y esto, ahora después voy a hablar un poquitito más, pero básicamente había una discusión y nosotros somos una empresa que está bajo escrutinio todo el tiempo. O sea, y creo que hemos sido de las empresas que mayor cantidad de FAD se le ha hecho noticias en contra y fake news se le ha hecho durante, creo, en la historia de cripto, 100%. Y en 2022 y en 2023 nosotros demostramos, y le demostramos a todo el ecosistema cripto, que éramos una empresa respetable, que hacía las cosas bien, y que no teníamos que ser totalmente abiertos de nuestras formas para ser aún así confiables. Entonces, la elección de nuestros partners bancarios, la elección de nuestros custodios, la elección de haber podido liquidar, ¿cómo se llama? Tener las reservas completas y haber podido liquidar frente a la corrida de USD y fondos que estaban jugando en contra nuestro, poder haber podido liquidar 7 billions en 48 horas de reservas y 16 a lo largo de un mes, fue todo un hito. No hay banco en la historia que haya superado eso. O sea, todos los bancos que superaron eso quebraron. Y el último fue Silicon Valley Bank, que liquidó 46 creo que en 10 días, perdón, 46 creo que en 10 días, y chau, si no fuese por la Reserva Federal, muerto estaba. Pero bueno, ¿cuáles son las funcionalidades? Bueno, básicamente los tokens de las stablecoins te proveen de estabilidad, o sea, es un token para la gente. Históricamente el valor de referencia a nivel mundial desde el posguerra, o sea, post-Segunda Guerra Mundial y Tratado de Bretton Woods, ha sido el dólar, particularmente cuando geopolíticamente se decidió que todo lo que era comercio internacional, particularmente Europa, posguerra, Estados Unidos y Japón, existiese el settlement en USD, se transformó en la moneda más fuerte del mundo y a lo largo de los últimos 70 años ha sido la referencia de valor. Ha sido la referencia de valor en Asia, ha sido la referencia de valor en Latinoamérica, ha sido la referencia de valor en África, en prácticamente todo el mundo. Entonces, básicamente tener un token que representa esa referencia y que funciona sobre una blockchain, que es la misma tecnología que utiliza Bitcoin, es una forma más de introducir a una persona que no sabe, ¿sí? Y que no quiere estar expuesto al riesgo de Bitcoin y que no quiere estar expuesto a la volatilidad de Bitcoin, ¿sí? A tener la misma tecnología, con el mismo grado de seguridad, pero con una referencia de valor que es estable, ¿no? Y después, y ahora acá dice mercado versus issuer, después voy a hacer más profundidad sobre ese tema, pero en principio es la estabilidad. Después es un medio de intercambio, se utiliza para esto, se utiliza para transferir valor utilizando las mismas funcionalidades que tiene Bitcoin, de forma estable, sin intermediarios. Y eso es también es algo que introdujo Bitcoin, pero con la volatilidad del Bitcoin, ahora vos lo tenés con la estabilidad del patrón dólar, digamos. ¿Y por qué sin intermediarios? Bueno, porque funciona sobre la blockchain y eso te permite a vos estar o garantizarte o tener la seguridad de que las transacciones no pueden frenarse. Entonces, no vas a tener una rotura en una cadena, en una transferencia internacional si estás pagando importaciones, por ejemplo. Ahora, si vos lo haces a través del banco, utilizando la cadena de pagos tradicional, la red SWIFT, tranquilamente, si el destinatario está en Rusia, muy probablemente el Banco de Estados Unidos te frene la transacción porque está sancionada Rusia y no pueden recibir transacciones. Entonces, en este caso, vas directo de persona, o sea, de empresa a empresa en Rusia y no hay nadie en el medio que pueda frenarla. Y eso, por el otro lado, también te va a vos la seguridad de que no pueden haber, o sea, no puede haber un enforcement a quitarte los criptoactivos. O sea, si los mantenés en una wallet de lo que llaman self-custodian wallets, que son wallets en donde vos sos dueño de la private key, como decía Ricardo, no hay manera de que si vos no firmas la transacción, no hay manera que te saquen los fondos de ahí. Eso te da otro nivel mayor de seguridad. Es reserva de valor, eso también depende mucho de las economías. O sea, obviamente en Argentina para nosotros es reserva de valor porque el dólar ha sido reserva de valor históricamente. Si uno va por ahí a Brasil, no tanto, porque ellos históricamente depende mucho de la idiosincrasia y depende mucho de las realidades económicas de cada país. Pero sí la realidad es que en muchos casos lo que te permite estar sobre este tipo de tecnología es que vos tenés acceso a otro tipo de herramientas o otro tipo de beneficios financieros que el sistema tradicional no te da. Entonces, ahora después les voy a mostrar un artículo que dice, que básicamente explica qué es lo que está pasando en Estados Unidos y qué pasó entre 2022 y 2023 y cómo desaparecieron del sistema bancario en Estados Unidos $1 trillón de personas que estaban ejecutando retiros y las razones de eso. Y para poder entrar a, no sé, yield, para poder saltar entre exchanges y arbitrar, para poder mover fondos sin que nadie los frene, para poder entrar a servicios Web3 si quisieses, esto es la forma, o sea, esta es la tecnología que te da la entrada. Y por el otro lado es por ahí una mejor unidad de cuenta que Bitcoin, particularmente porque inconscientemente ya tenemos el valor en la cabeza, ya estamos acostumbrados a ese valor, para poder medir precios y poder hacer asentamientos contables. Y bueno, y ahora voy a hacer el salto de mercado primario y mercado secundario, que creo que es, no, este es, bueno, después les hago puntualmente mercado primario y mercado secundario. Estos son, o sea, hay tres tipos técnicamente de monedas estables. Las que están respaldadas por lo que se llaman cash-like equivalents, que son o dinero en efectivo o instrumentos financieros que representan este dinero en efectivo o que tienen la misma liquidez que este dinero en efectivo. Y a la derecha tienen lo que son las reservas de Tether. No puedo señalar, no puedo señalar. Donde dice Reserves Breakdown, ahí tienen cómo está, eso es exactamente hoy. La parte de cash y cash equivalents, eso es la reserva 1 a 1 que tiene el token. En la de arriba, el Reserves Breakdown es los 103 billions más las reservas que decía Paolo que tenemos extraordinarias. Que es así, hay parte que está invertida en Bitcoin, eso ya son ganancias de la empresa. Pero el cash y cash equivalents y other short-term deposits, eso es la reserva exacta de los 103 billions. básicamente tenés tres, o aunque sea, son tres las que yo conozco, bueno, tres grandes, y después está la de Paxos también, que podría llegar a ser, también está dentro de este mismo sistema. Bueno, obviamente USDC, es cierto, USDT que es nuestra, y ahora hay un protocolo nuevo fundado por dos argentinos que se llama Mountain Protocol, que es diferente el approach, ¿sí? En realidad no tienen cash en reserva por lo que vi, lo que tienen es, ¿cómo es que se llama? Todo puesto en Treasury Bills del gobierno norteamericano. Ellos reciben el yield, ¿cómo es que se llama? Del bono norteamericano y lo reparten de forma automática en todos los tenedores de esta moneda. Puntos a tener en cuenta. Digo, siempre estamos hablando de monedas y siempre estamos hablando de, aparte de monedas, de activos financieros. Y cuando estamos hablando de activos financieros, estamos hablando de mercados, hay que también ver no solamente el mercado de los mercados primarios, sino también los mercados secundarios. O sea, cuánta liquidez existe para yo poder salir de esta posición. A mí lo que me pasa es, yo vengo de Bitcoin, USDT, y vos viajás por cualquier parte del mundo y en algún lado vas a encontrar a alguien que te quiera comprar Bitcoin, vas a encontrar a alguien que te quiera aceptar USDT. Ahora, no es tan fácil, ¿sí? Cuando vos vas con otros tipos de tokens y querés encontrar a alguien que te lo tome. Y eso es un caso de, no sé, alguien viajando. Pero ahora, si voy a mercado, uno tiene que ver, si decide invertir en algo, uno tiene que ver qué mercados se lo aceptan, porque los mercados se abren y cierran, y más en esta industria. Y en función de eso también elegir en qué invierte o qué tipo de stablecoin utiliza para mover sus fondos diariamente o para tomar una posición puntual. Después tenés sintéticas, que son, por ejemplo, DAI, que básicamente lo que hace es, y ahí están justo al costado están las reservas. O sea, ustedes fíjense que el DAI en circulación hay una distribución de varios tipos de activos y hay dos grandes, que uno dice RWA 015 y RWA creo que dice 007 o algo así. Este RWA son Real World Assets. ¿Qué pasó? Originalmente DAI nació como una algorítmica, ¿sí? O en realidad, sí, nació como una algorítmica, o en realidad, o estaba capeada por Ether, ¿sí? Préstamos y pago de intereses a préstamos tomados en Ether, ¿sí? El problema fue que, como le pasó también a la mayoría de las algorítmicas, ante una corrida, una caída muy fuerte del precio del activo subyacente, que le da el valor, la paridad 1 a 1 al token que vale $1, tuvo deepeg. Estamos hablando de 2018, creo, 2019. Y en ese momento, el ecosistema, porque DAI es una MakerDAO, es una DAO, es ¿cómo se llama? Una organización autónoma descentralizada, se empezó a votar cómo hacer para darle mayor estabilidad al token. Entonces, se empezaron a incorporar otros tipos de activos. Y durante 3 o 4 años, las dos posiciones que tenía DAI como tipo de activo eran 50% tokens de USDT y 50% USDC. ¿Sí? Pasó el tiempo, pasó de vuelta que subo DPEG, porque estas reservas en el caso de USDC cayeron. Y por otro lado, la DAO empezó también a pensar en colateralizar con Real World Assets, que es RWA, ¿sí? Entonces decidieron utilizando una regulación que hay en Estados Unidos, en el estado de Wyoming, decidieron abrir una empresa, o no sé qué instrumento utilizaron para abrir una empresa ahí, y empezaron a invertir parte de las ganancias de la DAO, las empezaron a invertir en tierra. Entonces, con eso empezaron a darle otros inputs mayor de valor al colateral. Por eso pasó a ser sintética, porque en realidad tiene una mezcla entre monedas estables, en este caso tienen USDC, tienen el activo subyacente y tienen otros activos de reserva de valor dentro del pool de activos que sustentan el 1 a 1 de la moneda. Y después, por último, están las algorítmicas, netamente, que básicamente, técnicamente funcionan como comprando y vendiendo el activo de manera tal de mantener un valor en el token que representa $1. Tenés USD, que fue la que colapsó con Luna. Ya vimos endebles son. Tenés USDD, que es una que funciona en Tron, que también tuvo un defect violento hace no demasiado tiempo atrás, por las mismas razones, ¿no? Es como que si está atado a un activo que es 100% especulativo y de variación muy rápida, pues usualmente el algoritmo no te puede seguir el valor del precio. ¿Entendés? Entonces, donde hay un ataque con mucho fondeo, te tira para abajo el precio, te hace el pega automático de la moneda. Y resolver ese problema tarda mucho tiempo, porque acuérdense que todo esto funciona sobre una blockchain. La blockchain es una infraestructura que mantiene un consenso para funcionar, y ese consenso se tiene que lograr. Entonces, cualquier modificación necesita consenso, pues nada, es un podrio. Entonces no terminan siendo muy estables. Y por eso nosotros también nunca miramos, como empresa, nunca miramos las posibilidades de una algorítmica, porque sabemos que son muy frágiles en su diseño. Y después tenés Dollar on Chain, que esa no sé si tuvo una especie en algún momento, tiene una capitalización muy chiquitita, pero funciona sobre una red que funciona, es una sidechain de Bitcoin. Y las reservas están en activos del protocolo que tiene activos de Bitcoin atrás. No sé exactamente bien cómo funciona, pero es otra algorítmica y es argentina. Bueno, a estos mercados primarios y mercados secundarios. Bien, abajo puse al pie de página puse esto es un paper de la Reserva Federal Norteamericana sobre un acontecimiento que se dio en marzo 10 del año pasado, cuando el Silicon Valley Bank colapsa. ¿Se escucha? Sí. Sí, bien. Entonces, básicamente, a la derecha tienen lo que sería la estructura del mercado de stablecoins, ¿sí? O sea, cómo es el mercado primario, o sea, cómo funciona el mercado primario en diferentes circunstancias. ¿Cuál es la diferencia entre mercado primario y mercado secundario? El mercado primario son todas aquellas personas que crean el token, o sea, que crean USDT, ¿sí? O destruyen USDT, ¿sí? Y cada empresa, o sea, cada empresa, en este caso acá se menciona DAI, pero saquemos DAI para este caso, hagamos Circle y Tether, porque digo, son las que funcionan muy parecido, ambas tienen cuenta de banco, ambas hay que depositar la plata en la cuenta de banco para poder redimir el token. Y viceversa, hay que depositar los tokens para poder redimir plata por banco. En los dos lados, básicamente lo que pasa es, hay una directa vinculación en cómo está diseñado el mercado primario, ¿sí? Para poder garantizar la estabilidad en el mercado secundario. El mercado primario es quien redime o crea los tokens, y el mercado secundario es a donde ese que redime y crea los tokens sale a vender esos tokens que compró. Ya sea porque tradea contra pares en USDT, ya sea porque lo revende a alguien que está dispuesto a usarlo y pagar una prima sobre eso. O sea, siempre hay un arbitraje entre el que está primero en contacto con el issuer, ¿sí? Y el resto de los participantes que por alguna razón no pueden abrir una cuenta con el issuer y le recompran a este, ¿sí? Entonces, ¿qué es lo que los tipos analizan el marzo 10? Circle tenía, por decisión ni acertada ni desacertada, o sea, no me evito un juicio de valor, pero Circle tenía 3 punto algo billions, ¿sí? O sea, en general, tanto Circle como Tether tienen un 80%, 90%, no importa, eso depende del riesgo, lo tienen colocado en cash-like equivalents, que son estos activos financieros. Nosotros son T-bills, en el caso de Circle también son T-bills. Y después hay un buffer, ¿sí? En cash, siempre. ¿Por qué? Porque siempre tenés gente que está ingresando dinero, pero también hay gente que está egresando, sacando de la cuenta de banco dinero. Entonces vos tenés que poder servir todo el tiempo las dos cosas. Entonces Circle tenía 3 billions, más o menos, depositados en, creo que eran 7 bancos norteamericanos, de los cuales 4 colapsan. Y en el caso de Silicon Valley, tenían 3 billions, o sea, de lo que tenían en reservas, tenían 3 billions. O sea que 3 billions desaparecieron de la faz de la Tierra. Y eran 3 billions que no eran excess reserves, no eran reservas excedente, sino que eran 3 billions que colateralizaban 3 billions en USDC circulante, dando vueltas en la economía. ¿Qué pasa? Automáticamente que pasa eso, en los mercados hay un FAD y empieza a caer todo. Y ahí fue cuando se dio el DPEG de USDC. Ellos después salieron a decir que con las excess reserves volvían a colateralizar todo el 100% y medio como que eso estabilizó el precio. Pero en ese momento pasó eso. ¿Y qué pasa? A ellos se les vino el DPEG, a nosotros no se nos vino el DPEG. Entonces, lo que investiga la Reserva Federal es qué pasó, o sea, por qué a USDC, que es una empresa regulada en Estados Unidos, que cumple con todos los requisitos de Estados Unidos, que tiene toda la plata de los bancos de Estados Unidos, etcétera, 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 como a ellos pasó y a USDT, que es el cuco, no le pasó. Bueno, básicamente tiene que ver con este tema del arbitraje del mercado primario. O sea, ¿qué pasa cuando vos das una facilidad muy grande, ¿sí?, para que cualquiera pueda directamente acudir al mercado primario? ¿Por qué razón? Porque lo que te pasa cuando vos vas es como si fuese una corrida de banco, ¿sí? O sea, funciona igual que una corrida de banco. Si vos vas al banco a buscar la plata y el banco no la tiene, empieza, se crea miedo y todo el mundo sale a buscar la plata del banco. Acá, como la plata está, el problema está en cuán rápido sos vos, ¿sí?, en facilitar que la gente saque la plata. Y si vos sos demasiado rápido en permitir que la gente retire la plata y demasiado laxo en el nivel de trabas que pones para que la gente retire la plata, el mercado secundario lo replica. Y en el mercado secundario es donde tenés un eco y tenés, ¿cómo es que se llama? Tenés a la mayoría de los participantes. Entonces, lo que te termina pasando es que, de golpe y porrazo, en el mercado secundario vos tenés un DPEG de la moneda, incluso teniendo la reserva total o pudiendo hacer frente a todos los retiros que tenés en ese momento, de todos los que van directamente a vos. Entonces, nosotros tenemos muy pocos participantes en el mercado primario, ¿sí? Y por eso mantenemos un valor mucho más estable en los mercados secundarios, que es donde la gente compra y vende continuamente, porque hay muchísima más recompensa, ¿sí?, para los participantes que están usando el mercado primario para salir a reventar en el otro lado las monedas a un precio mucho más bajo, o salir a recomprar monedas a un precio mucho más bajo. ¿Se entiende? Es como que por el hecho de tener muy pocos participantes acá y estos estar ganando mucho con este arbitraje, el otro mercado se mantiene muchísimo más estable, ¿sí? Y eso se puede ver acá abajo, justo ahí donde dice, ahí comparaban Binance USD, después Binance USD la cerraron, o sea, cuando tuvo toda la causa CZ, creo que a fines del año pasado, DAI, USDC, USDT. Y ustedes fíjense, el número de transacciones que se crearon este día, ¿sí?, en lo que es burning and minting. Minting es creación de tokens, burning es quemar tokens, ¿no? 81.594 transacciones y 25.153. O sea, ustedes fíjense, había 81.000 y pico de transacciones de gente queriendo quemar tokens, ¿sí? Y 25.000 solamente creando tokens. Contra nosotros tuvimos 2 transacciones para crear tokens, perdón, 2 transacciones para retirar tokens y 0 para crear tokens. O sea que el mercado ni siquiera se inmutó. Nadie salió a tratar de decir, che, Tether no tiene las reservas, che, vamos a sacarlo, che, vamos a quemar, che, vamos a vender, porque no, nada, absolutamente nada. Bueno, esos son mercados primarios, mercados secundarios, y después quieren leer el análisis de la Reserva Federal, está ahí abajo. Es súper interesante. Y después, bueno, usos de USDT. Como les decía, $1 trillón salió de los bancos tradicionales. Según el artículo las razones básicamente son gente de 40 o menos, que de golpe y porrazo, ante la suba de tasas de la Reserva Federal, de golpe y porrazo dicen, che, el banco no me está dando absolutamente nada, tengo mejores oportunidades si pongo mi propio dinero en otros instrumentos fuera del banco, que sean de, no sé, fintechs, etc. Nosotros estamos acostumbrados, digo, tenemos Mercado Pago, tenemos Wallah, digo, ya hay una revolución mucho más producto de la necesidad que en Argentina de salir de los bancos tradicionales, pero en Estados Unidos es como terrible. ¿Sí? Y por el otro lado, acá tienen la capitalización de mercado y la dominancia de Tether con respecto a el volumen de trading en criptoactivos. Entonces, ya sea que vos querés por ahí acceder a alguna plataforma, algún pool DeFi, ¿sí? Que te da un yield sobre USDT, necesitas USDT. Ya sea que vos querés ir a colocarte contra, no sé, por ejemplo en Bitfinex tenés 15% de tasa anual variable usando USDT, o sea que básicamente vos abrís la cuenta en Bitfinex, depositas USDT adentro y se lo prestás a otro adentro de la plataforma que quiere para jugar apalancado, long o short, tradeando, y tiene que tener un colateral que te permite, o sea, Bitfinex garantiza el repago del capital más del interés, porque es lo que tiene que tener de colateral sí o sí el que toma el préstamo. Ya sea eso, o sea que vos querés tradear directamente y querés aprovechar las posibilidades que tenés de o arbitrar o saltar en diferentes exchanges porque estás viendo diferentes moneditas de meme coins, no sé, lo que sea. Digo, USDT es la forma de moverse por el ecosistema de forma rápida, segura y sin problemas, básicamente. Y ya está. Muchas gracias. Espero haber sido claro. Y si quieren, pasemos o veamos las preguntas, porque había un par. ¿En qué tiempo en el futuro se espera que el USDT sea de uso diario? Es decir, que tengamos tarjetas y pueda pagar un local prácticamente como si fuera USD. Ya podés técnicamente. O sea, digo, o sea, los brokers en Argentina, la mayoría ya tienen tarjetas que usan tu saldo en USDT o en otra moneda para poder pagar en comercio, o tenés, que eso para mí personalmente no es pago, ¿sí? O sea, para mí pago es o sea, persona de cliente a comercio. Y después, de hecho, tenés también algunas billeteras que son técnicamente brokers cripto, que tienen integrado también pagos con QR. Entonces, ya, aunque sea en Argentina, se puede hacer. En Brasil, creo que lo dije la vuelta pasada, cuando hicimos la charla, la reunión en persona, yo personalmente estoy impulsando mucho el tema de interconexión de sistemas. ¿Sí? O sea, me parece que la adopción la adopción de esto va a venir de la mano de gente que experimente el sistema tradicional y el sistema cripto y de golpe porrazo se dé cuenta que este sistema es muchísimo mejor, pero porque experimentó problemas acá y se pasó por acá. Pero si no hay una vinculación entre los dos sistemas, es muy difícil que alguien decida porque sí saltar acá y decir, bueno, a ver, me voy a poner a investigar, a ver cómo se usa y estudiar, y etcétera. Entonces, tiene que haber herramientas que interconectan. Entonces, una de estas herramientas es el hecho de tratar de interconectar a billeteras que están acá en Argentina o brokers que están acá en Argentina que tienen la funcionalidad ya de pagos con saldo en USDT o con saldo del que sea, pero principalmente el saldo USDT, pues esto funciona solamente en USDT, con nuestro partner, por ejemplo, en Brasil, que te permite pagar con USDT en cualquier POS que tiene PIX, que esos son básicamente el 90% de los POS en Brasil tienen PIX. Y de cualquier persona acepta PIX, y PIX es como el medio de pago por definición en Brasil. Entonces, ese tipo de herramientas son las que eventualmente van a hacer que, por necesidad, empiece a haber muchísimo más uso de USDT, pero obviamente para resolver cosas puntuales, digamos. Así que yo creo que estamos mucho más cerca de lo que nosotros creemos, honestamente. ¿Qué otra pregunta? A ver. No, nada más, creo, ¿no? Sí, a ver. ¿Podría acelerar de vuelta el quiebre del asteroide de Luna y por qué sucede? No sé si estoy... a ver, técnico... Pues es medio difícil y no tampoco es que lo tengo fresco, pero básicamente vos podías crear O sea, vos podías crear UST colocando Luna. O sea, vos colocabas Luna a un lado y sacabas un préstamo en UST, ¿sí? O sea, era como que vos creabas UST, ¿sí? Entonces, pero llegó un momento en donde el protocolo terminó aceptando también que vos puedas colocar UST a recibir interés también. Entonces, de golpe y porrazo, se hizo una especie de burbuja gigantesca que un fondo de inversión muy grande, muy conocido, y que ahora creo que van a terminar. Hay uno que está en Cana ya. Básicamente se dio cuenta que si con un poco de plata shorteaba la posición de Luna que tenía, que era muy grande, el algoritmo colapsaba. ¿Por qué? Porque había una burbuja de plata. Era de toda una burbuja, no había sustento, no había valor real detrás de todo eso. Y fue lo que pasó. Y en la corrida ganaron muchísima cantidad de plata. Y después pasó otra cosa. En el medio de toda esta situación, se intentó corregir el protocolo, se intentó cambiar el protocolo. Y el problema que tenés ahí es que todos los participantes de la blockchain tenían que aceptar, porque el cambio del protocolo era consensuado. Nunca llegabas a dar todo, o sea, nunca llegabas a hacer que toda la red implementase esto tan rápido como para que directamente cortases una corrida. Y ahí terminó de caer. O sea, una vez que empezó a caer, después ya siguió cayendo. Y ya la gente ya ni siquiera quería el token, no quería absolutamente nada. Querían ver cómo salir y nada más. Veramos un segundo. ¿Qué más? Vamos a ver si. Espera. Demon, es de uso general, ya puede usar a cualquier hora, que no se puede. Fiwin también, sí, las que tienen, o sea, todas las que tienen tarjeta puedes usar un saldo en USDT para pagar, eso seguro. Y después, yo sé que no soy usuario de Lemon Cash, pero Velo sí tiene pago con QR, Decrypto tiene pago con QR, Fiwin tiene pago con QR, y ya directamente usa el saldo que vos tenés, lo convierte a pesos, le hace el pago por la red, por la misma red de Coels. ¿El USDT tiene la misma inflación que el dólar? Sí, 100%. Eso, digo, nosotros no hicimos una moneda deflacionaria. Para moneda deflacionaria, y Ricardo lo discute, pero para moneda deflacionaria, Bitcoin. La realidad es que sí, o sea, en realidad lo que nosotros hicimos fue tomar los beneficios de la tecnología y utilizar la misma referencia de valor que la mayoría de la gente tiene por los últimos 70 años y decir, che, acá está esto que funciona sobre la misma tecnología, tiene las mismas características o beneficios que Bitcoin, pero con el problema de el colateral. El colateral, eso no podés evitarlo. Entonces, sí, tiene la misma inflación que el USD, 100%. ¿Qué más? Bueno, no sé si hay alguna otra pregunta. Había visto alguna preguntando sobre el tema de servicios de información o la Reserva Federal o algo así, o si nosotros informamos a la Reserva Federal. No hay chances. O sea, nosotros no podemos conocer todas las billeteras que tienen USDT en el mundo. O sea, imagino son 103.000 millones de dólares dando vueltas. Y hay gente que tiene una adres que tiene 50 USDT, y hay gente que tiene 15.000 millones de USDT, y no hay chance. Y soportamos la mayoría de las blockchains hoy por hoy, de las que son grandes, digamos. Así que no hay chance. En tu opinión, ¿las stablecoins vienen a suplantar a la plata física el día de mañana? Y es una muy buena pregunta. Yo creo que a las stablecoins le falta algo que la moneda física tiene y hasta ahora nadie logró resolverlo, y es la parte de la privacidad. 100% de privacidad. Uno cuando paga en efectivo en un local, paga en efectivo. Nadie sabe, nadie deja sentado, nadie sabe quién es el que paga. O sea, yo voy a un kiosco y no digo, hola, mi nombre es Efraín Barraza, mi número de documento, acá tenés el documento y tomá, acá tenés plata. Eso no lo hago. Y el del comercio no me dice, viniste a comprar al kiosco Pepito Sociedad Anónima, acá tenés el quit y para que lo tengas, antes de informarlo a la gente. Esa funcionalidad ninguna stablecoin la tiene. Y no tiene que ver con el diseño de la stablecoin, tiene que ver también con el transporte, con la infraestructura, con la blockchain. Ahora, Ricardo habló sobre Lightning Network, ¿sí? Lightning Network es una red mucho más privada. Y yo no descuento que en algún futuro, si obviamente la blockchain de Bitcoin termina siendo la infraestructura descentralizada por definición para transferencia de valor sobre Internet en el mundo, no termine abriendo una stablecoin sobre Lightning Network, dando la misma velocidad para transaccionar, el mismo anonimato para transaccionar y la misma casi funcionalidad que el efectivo, pero con la tecnología de Bitcoin. Pero está por verse. Bueno, nada, los dejo, son las 8:10. Privado no siempre deja algún rastro de esos medios de pago. Qué bueno decirle a la plata física, ¿no? Claro. Sí, como la plata física. Afortunadamente no hay nada todavía. Bueno, nada, son las 8:10. Vayan a descansar, a comer con sus familias, a hacer algo. Y muchísimas gracias por haberte bancado todas estas 2 charlas pesadas.
Bueno, Efraín, muchísimas gracias de verdad por tu tiempo, también en el caso de tus compañeros. Muchas gracias a la gente por, bueno, como él dijo, por participar, eh, por haber estado en toda esta presentación, que sé que les habrá encantado, que fue súper interesante, súper informativa y poder acercarle todo este tipo de cosas a la gente de una manera en la que uno pueda entender y meterse un poquito más en el trasfondo y entender estos detalles que ayudan también en cierto modo a lo que es el entendimiento, la adopción y demás. Así que bueno, como dije al principio de la charla, es una oportunidad excelente poder tener con nosotros una empresa como es Tether dándonos esta charla a la comunidad. Así que espero que la hayan disfrutado. De nuevo, muchas gracias Efraín por tu tiempo
No,
y
por
por la
favor.
claridad. Así que bueno, nos vemos la próxima, si les parece.
Nos vemos la próxima. Chao.
Abrazo
Buenas
grande.
noches.
Hasta luego. Chau, chau.